Introduction. Following the controversial withdrawal of U.S. troops in Iraq by President Barack Obama, a huge power vacuum was created and a terrorist group known as ISIS rose from the ashes of the infamous Al-Qaeda terrorist group. ISIS uses religious rhetoric to brainwash the minds of disenfranchised Westerners who do not exactly fit in with Western culture. This psychological exploitation is widely effective and has resulted in a large number of Westerners taking up arms in the name of ISIS. Terrorist activity in Europe and the Middle East. ISIS is involved in medium to large-scale warfare in Iraq and Syria. Some use of suicide bombings, but mostly armed combat. Terrorist activity in Europe is noticeably different compared to the Middle East. We see more suicide attacks, bombings, and mass shootings. These attacks are known as guerrilla warfare. Suicide terrorism. Suicide terrorism is effective and relatively cheap. These attacks were very widespread in Israel after the 9/11 attacks. To quote an Atlantic article written just after the 9/11 attacks, nearly everywhere in the world it is taken for granted that one can simply push open the door to a restaurant, cafe, or bar, sit down, and order a meal or a drink. In Israel, the process of entering such a place is more complicated. One often encounters an armed guard who, in addition to asking prospective patrons whether they themselves are armed, may quickly pat them down, feeling for the telltale bulge of a belt or a vest containing explosives. Establishments that cannot afford a guard or are unwilling to pass on the cost of one to customers simply keep their doors locked, responding to knocks with a quick glance through the glass. Terrorist organizations use attacks such as suicide attacks to promote fear and general social unrest as seen here in Israel. Use of religious rhetoric to recruit. ISIS takes their own political agenda and attempts to tie it into what is presented in the Quran. In addition to this, they use stunning videos and open ancient scars as they pertain to Roman aggression in the Near East as well as the Crusades. ISIS typically exploits disenfranchised Westerners with little but some knowledge of the Quran. By brainwashing them into interpreting the Quran the same way ISIS does, these recruits are filled with hatred towards the Western world.